Here today at the fantastic Lindholme Lakes near Doncaster, and what we're going to be doing is talking you through our ground expander products, both the light and the dark. There might be some new additions, but keep your eyes out in the video for those. We'll be talking you how to feed it, where to feed it, and all the little hints, tips and tricks to go with it to help you get the most out of your winter fishing. So we're here today for a winter pole fishing session at the fantastic Lindholme Lakes, and we'll be fishing with pellets, and one key thing I wouldn't be without is ground expander. The beauty of this mix is it's not too potent, not too powerful, and how easy it is to use, and the fish love it, especially at this cooler time of year. It's nice and fine and it's not going to upset them. So in terms of mixing, for me it's one of the easiest ground baits in the world to use. So open him up, as you can see, nice big area to mix in, nice big bucket. We're not going to need a load today, so we'll just put half a bag in there like so, and simply flood it with water. Obviously being, expander based, it's going to take plenty on, so that'll probably take a slight bit more, like that. So as you can see, it's really almost, a slop. And all I'm going to do, give that a whiz round, make sure all the particles are saturated. Like you can see, absolute slopping texture. I'm just going to let that sit for probably 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll come back, and all that I'll have to do with that, push it through a riddle and it'll be good to go. Obviously we've got two in the range at the minute. We've got the natural and the dark brown, and they both mix exactly the same. And we'll just let that sit, and we'll come revisit it and we'll show you how it ends up. So I've just let this ground bait sit for 15-20 minutes while I've just set a bit of kit up, and as you can see, it's all set in the bottom of the bucket. All I'm going to do, just break it up and simply pop it through a riddle. And all this is going to do, break them lumps up, create a nice light, fine, fluffy mix that's going to be perfect for these winter F1s. Just shove him through like that. And as you can see, we're left with a lovely, fine, fluffy mix that is going to bind together well. And I can pop those little nuggets in, or I can put it in loose, depending what the fish are doing. It's going to be the perfect starting mix for today's session. Right, so we're up here on Willows, doing a bit of winter pole fishing with the ground expander, and this is literally first drop. So I'm just going to go in, tap a little bit of bait in, and just almost kick the peg off and see what happens without over committing to anything. So right there, I'm just going to start off with a few micros, hopefully catch that initial run of fish before changing to that ground expander, tapping in little nuggets, just hopefully draw and create that bit of cloud and get those fish back in the area. But we're just going to see how it tees off to start with. Fingers crossed we're not waiting too long for bites. There's been an odd fish topping, which is quite promising, so hopefully they're quite obliging for us. There we go. That's a better F1. Not been fishing for long. And a nice bite. And we're into one. And what a lovely way to put a few fish in your net, especially on a cold winter's day. Tapping a little bait in and waiting for that float to go under. Nice fish. freezing cold, a bit sluggish after last night, but more than welcome on a cold day. Nicely in the top lip. Come on, mate, open up. A great way to kickstart that session. Simply just putting 4mm expander on the hook, just rolling him on. And for the minute, while we can catch this initial run of fish, we're just putting a few micros in. But after these initial fish, it won't be long till we're switching over to that bit of crush, you know, bit of ground expander, and just trying to create a response. You know, that little bit of cloud, that bit of scent in the water without overfeeding them, especially in these cooler months, could be massive. It can really transform your peg from an odd bite to, you know, catching steady away. And it's also going to be attractive to, you know, them big skimmers, stockies. Carp aren't opposed to coming over it as well. It's just one of them baits that is maximum attraction. It's not off-putting to any other fish. So we'll have this little drop, see how it pans out, and we might be making a change to that crush expander quite soon. Float dotted right down, you know, some of them bites, especially when, there you go. Oh, it was on. But as you can see, just a tiniest little indication then, and we pricked something. I'm not quite sure what it was. Might have been a skimmer or something like that. There's a few little skimmers in here. So just reset everything. Just rolling me on. Still plenty of pellets in that pot. Planes are out from the airfield next door. And because I pricked one in the peg, I'm just going to refeed a little bit of bait. Just, you know, I might disturb them fish that are there or anything like that. So it's always nice just to reset that trap if, you know, something like that's happened. Just restart everything. And fingers crossed, it's not too long till that elastic's coming out again. You know, nice delicate floats, nice fine bristles, light up lengths, 010 up lengths. Just really try, do everything to disguise that rig, you know, stack the odds in your favour. It's not a fish race, you know. Just wanting to go in, get a bite, and by finding everything back, especially for these F1s, really does help you get those extra bites at this time of year. That's a better fish. As you can see, that theory of starting with expanders and micros is good. You know, it's been a nice start, some bites, and it's steady away. But we've always got that bit of ground expander in reserve, just in case is needed. You know, just to kick that peg back into life should anything happen. Just take your time with him. Nice little mirror. Well, little, he's probably as round as he is long. He'll be getting on for £3 to £4, I'd have thought. More than welcome when it's as cold as this. But it just goes to show you, you don't need big strong line and loads of bait to catch these fish. You know, we're fed next to nothing really. I'm getting plenty of bites and indications, which is good. But as always with pellets, I don't really expect it to last for the duration, so I'm just playing it by ear really. See how, you know, how this run develops. Is the peg changing? Do I need to change anything? Am I waiting longer for a bite? Am I getting silly indications? All these are little signs that you might need to swap about with what you're doing. Another nice fish, but more than welcome in winter. Giving me the run around. Look at that. Absolute pristine F1. More than welcome on these cold winter days. Little bar of gold. And great to see the float going under, especially in this weather. So we've had a few bites over the micros to start with, but as with always with pellets, you can sort of feel it going. Your bites are taking a bit longer to come by, and it might be one of those scenarios where I just need somewhere else to put an odd fish in the net. So all I've done, swap my pot, and I'm just going to open up my other line. It's a long line, same as this, same distance, and luckily for me it's the same depth. And all I'm going to do, little nugget of crushed expander, just thumb it into the pot and just tee that off. Just so if this does go or I feel it needs a rest, I've got that line ready and waiting that I can drop in on and hopefully get captain again straight away. I'm just going to go out there, touch the water with the pot. That's it. Little blob deposited in the peg and we're ready to go. So that line's fed and ready and waiting now. That's probably going to leave that alone for 10 to 15 minutes. Just hopefully catch another couple on this original spot. But the option is there if we need it to switch over to that other side. Sorry to interrupt the video, but here at Bait Tech we've got a fantastic prize giveaway for Christmas for you all. We've got two of these bait bundles, RRP of 50 quid. They include the new expander ground baits, some of the method mix and the sprinkles. All you have to do is comment below the name of the new addition to the expander range of ground baits and you're in with a chance of winning one of two of these fantastic prize bundles. Again, thank you from everyone at Bait Tech for your support in 2025 and we look forward to see you in 2026. Have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. Right, a swap to that other side and we've had a bite straight away. And I think it's a perfect time to whet your appetite about a new addition to our ground expander range. And it's amongst a load of new products that we're launching for 2026, and that is the Sweet Expander. So the same fish pulling properties as the ground expander and the dark, but many people have asked for a sweet version, so that's what's going to be appearing alongside plenty of others for next year. So keep your eyes out for it hitting the shelves in your Bait Tech stockist near you. Right, so we've had a lovely little run to start off with, just putting a few micros in, but then, you know, you start missing an odd bite, your peg slows down, and naturally the peg changes as you catch a few fish. So all I've done, I've made a swap feeding our ground expander, slightly over wet, and I'm just feeding it loose, but so it goes down in basically like a loose little clump that's going to cloud up the peg and hopefully draw them F1s back in. So exactly the same as before, just shipping out, 4mm expander on the hook, could not be any simpler, tiny little pole pot, just so we're fishing for one fish at a time. Line everything up with his mark, touch the surface of the water with the pot, one tap and that little marble comes out, and then just position your float, smacking that bait and lower him down. Trap's perfectly set now and fingers crossed we're going to get a response now. You know, feeding a lot smaller particles than those initial pellets, more attraction. It's going to puff up when a fish comes in the peg, make that nice little cloud. And the only real food particle in the peg is that 4mm expander on my hook, which hopefully we're going to take in and will be attached to an F1 in the not too distant future, hopefully. That was me being rubbish, missing a bite. Another nice little tip as well, especially when you're fishing pellets, not to give it the big one when you strike. You know, nice little lift, and then if he's not on, you can just lower that rig back into the water. Ooh, another little sign then. And this is one little thing to be wary of with ground bait. Sometimes it can create you a few liners and indications, but I'd rather have that than not be getting any signs at all. You know, after that initial run, the peg was fading, we're waiting longer for a bite, and just by that little swab, within a couple of feeds, I'm getting bites, indications, signs of fish in my peg, which can only be a positive. I can then work out how to catch them, which is massive. You know, you need something to work with, signs, liners, things like that, because then you can make decisions. If you're not getting any indications at all, it's very hard to know what to do. Ooh. So I've missed 3 bites now. So, you know, it's quite normal. It's nothing to worry about, nothing I'm too stressed over. But I have to be conscious of how I'm feeding my peg. You know, am I feeding too much? Am I feeding it a little bit too loose? Is it spread too much over an area? Do I need to add a bit more water to that ground bait, make it like a little clag, just so it'll carry down to the bottom? And these are all little decisions, and it might not be a fixed recipe for a full day. It might be, you know, I have 5 feeds with this ground bait, I start missing signs, and simply by wetting it up, making it a little bit stodgier so everything's going to carry down to the bottom, it'll help alleviate them missed bites and foul up fish. And I think, to be honest, that's about where we're at the minute. You know, there's a lot of indications, but I'm not connecting with any of them. And it might be time to just wet that ground bait up slightly, you know, tiny little bit, you know, 1/4 of a pint of ground bait, enough for 8, 10, 12 feeds, and just see how they respond to that. There's no point doing your full batch of ground bait. Oh, he was on. I was just watching those geese weren't going through the pole. And this is the other beauty of ground bait, these fish. These are the ones you miss out sometimes when you're feeding micro pellets and things, these bigger skimmers. And if I can catch one of these every now and again, fill in those little blank periods when there might not be an F1 in my peg, or it might be that middle of the match where it's a little bit more difficult. You know, he's not a small fish, he's 12 ounce maybe. Definitely worth having. But that also might explain a few missed bites. Nice little skimmer. In he goes. And we'll just repeat the process now. look at that. Straight away, just by swapping to that ground expander, it's kicked what seemed to be a peg that was fading back into life. And that's the beauty of this ground bait. With it being so fine, you know, nice and attractive to the fish, that little bit of cloud, it just helps kick your peg back into life when you might need it after that initial run on pellets. And it's a nice F1, I think. Nice little stocky. And after 10-15 minutes of no signs, no indications, what a lovely fish to put in the net. Oh, settle down, mate. And that is the difference it can make. You know, tiny amounts of bait, but big results. And that's what winter F1 fishing is all about. Those little changes, those little decisions that'll help you put those extra fish in your net. So all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to tee up that other line, just with another little nugget of ground bait. Just so I've got somewhere to drop should I need it. And then drop back in on that original line, because it's going quite well at the minute, but you have to remember it's unlikely it's going to last for the full duration of your match or your session, so you've always got to give yourself another option. So same again, because that works so well, a little bit of ground expander, boom him into the pot, and away we go. Another bite off what feels to be a bit better F1, and to be honest, it's turning into an absolutely fantastic winter session. Loads of bites, loads of signs, and a great way to spend a day on the bank. But what we'll do while it's going so well, we'll just take a minute out to show you the details of the rig, how I'm going about it, and the way in which I'm feeding the bait with the pot. So, nice F1 to finish on, and we'll talk you through all the kit. So, on to the hardware side of things, and we'll start at the top. Elastic wise, it's a green hybrid in the Drennan range, nice and light, but still retains that bit of power should you hook, you know, a bigger carp, some big F1s, but still plenty soft enough. You're going to get 4 or 5 foot of elastic out with those little skimmers, so perfect balance between nice and soft and that bit of power in reserve. Mainline is 016 down to an AS3 float and a 0.3. Nice fine bristle, you know, it's going to show up them little dinks and taps from those shy biting winter F1s. And shot in for me, as always with pellets, nice and simple. Little strung bulk of the bottom third of the rig of number 10s with a number 12 trimmer. Down to a short 010 hook length, down to one of the new Kamasan pellets in a 16. Just blends nicely with them pellets. You can bury it in a 4mm expander, hide the hook, and hopefully fool some of these wary winter F1s. So what we'll do now, we'll get back out into the peg, we'll try that other line, what we've been priming. Hopefully there'll be a few sat there waiting for us. Right, so quite interesting really. We've had a lovely run on that right hand line. Before, you know, we've gone in, we're missing bites, not many indications, and it's just sort of petered away really. And by, you know, keeping this left hand line ticking along, odd bits of bait going in, we've now dropped on it, and it's really good, to be fair. We're getting a fish, most drops in, plenty of signs and indications, and I think it's something that's really important with your winter fishing, that you've always got to give yourself somewhere else to drop, and this is a prime example of that. Early doors, it felt like that left-hand line was no good, there wasn't many signs, but by persevering, when that right-hand side's eventually faded away, we've got somewhere we can line fish up, we can keep catching. And it's a great way to be able to keep your net ticking over, keep putting fish in your net, rather than sat there biteless, especially in these cooler months. No one wants to be sat there watching a float not go under. So it's just something to bear in mind, that you do often have to rotate lines, fish move, they'll back off, and by starting a new area, you can keep that float going under. Well, what a cracking winter sessions that's been. You know, it doesn't take a boatload of bait, Simply a few micros, a bit of ground expander and a few expanders, and you can have a lovely day catching plenty of fish, including some nice big F1s like this lad here. What a belting fish he is to end the day on. Nice F1, feeding a few micros, bit of ground expander, 4mm on the hook. What can beat that on a cold winter's day? We'll just get him unhooked, we'll put him in the net, and we'll have a look at what we've managed to catch after a few hours on the bank. What a belting winter sessions that's been, you know. 30 to 40 pound of carp, F1 skimmers, all caught in a few hours with a ground expander. Let's get these back ready for another day. And don't forget the competition for the new flavour of ground bait we were using today. Make sure you comment it below to be in with your chance to win one of our £50 Christmas bundles. Have a great Christmas and a happy new year from everyone at Bait Tech, and we'll see you all in 2026.